Hello everyone, today we have new video review and this time we're gonna check fresh release from Eduard. As you can see, that's a 148 scale B of 109G-14. It's a new Profipack from Czech manufacturer and now we have a chance to check it closer. But first, as usual, I'll remind you that we are still gathering money for the new camera and you can help us by pressing the donate button on our website. It is done via PayPal, so it should be easy and safe. So that's a fresh Profipack release from Czech manufacturer. As I said before, we have this beautiful box art on the front. Box size is quite typical for 148 Profipack kits. Here you can see comparison with my hand. On the side we have 5 marking options which are available in this kit. Of course, there is a Hartmann aircraft and also some other interesting marking options which can be replicated with this kit. On the other side we have short information about the model, that it's built or assembled in Czech Republic. Also here you have the QR code for the kit info page, so you can scan it and it will guide you directly on the website. That's a top opening box, just give me a second. And here is what we have inside. So as you can see, there is plenty of space and I really doubt that some parts will be damaged when they arrive to you after the postal service. Now we're gonna open this first plastic bag with plastic sprues inside. I can see that transparent sprue is also packed here. It's quite unusual for Eduard. Usually Eduard packs it separately, but at least it is packed into the separate plastic bag so it won't be scratched. Now just give me a second to open it and we will take a closer look. So here it is. Molding quality is really nice and parts division is typical to what we saw in G6 version. So you will be able to assemble the aircraft with open canopy, of course, and you shouldn't be worried about masking problems because masks are included into this kit and they will make assembly process easier and faster. And again, I will remind you that we have also some parts for the cockpit here. They will have to be used as well. Next we have first gray plastic sprue. This one is dedicated to wings parts and overall parts division is typical to what we saw in G6 version. Once again, we have separate air intakes, separate wheel wells, separate wing mechanization, wing front slats, everything is separate here. And inside you can see that wing edges will serve as the guiding elements, but we also have some position pins for the proper placement of those two parts together. And of course the pitot tube is also pre-molded with a part, so be careful while handling those halves in order not to break it off and lose it somewhere. Otherwise, as you can see, external detailing is quite typical for recent kits from Eduard. We have recessed panel lines riveting in place. Also note that position elements are pre-molded with plastic, so you will have to paint them in order to look convincing, or maybe even replace with some transparent insert. Next we have second gray plastic sprue. This one is dedicated to fuselage halves. Parts division shows that we don't have the tail segment here. It will have to be assembled out of two halves, or those ones, and of course the rudder is also separate. Cooling bubbles are also separate, as you can see here. I can even zoom in a bit so that you can see those parts closer. Top cooling panel is also separate. Here we have two options. Note that hinge will come as a separate part as well. The same can be said about air intake, exhausts, and overall external detailing is similar to what we saw on the wing. So we have recessed panel lines and riveting. Everything looks fine, and of course it will look even better after some pre-shading and washing done. Then inside we have position elements for proper alignment of those two parts together. The same can be said about those two halves for tail segment. And cockpit detailing might look a bit empty, but no worries because it will be upgraded with help of separate plastic parts, and also there is a PE thread supplied in Profipack. It's a traditional feature, so you will have quite a detailed cockpit once you assemble everything together. Next we have bigger sprues. They're also packed together. Here they are, and on them manufacturer decided to place different external and internal elements. and I will show you in a second what we get there. So here is the first one. Here we have mostly external elements, because for example here you can see tail wings, which should be assembled out of two halves. Here we have different rudders. Also, this is a fuel tank, separate air intakes, exhausts, machine gun barrels. Also here we have the separate flaps as far as I remember, separate ailerons, separate wing front slats, separate landing gear rear leg. There are 3 types of ruders. And what else is interesting here is that, for example, air intake will have to be assembled out of 2 halves, so you will have to be extra careful while gluing them together, and of course you will have to sand them, because otherwise it will be possible to see the seam between those 2 parts. Next we have second large gray plastic sprue. This one is the last one in the kit, and here we can see some of the internal elements. But of course first you can see those 3 different propeller types. Also here we have different types for the wheel rims, and here you can see the cockpit base together with several types of the dashboard. I will zoom in so that you can see them closer. So here they are. Of course there are some elements pre-molded on the cockpit base, but you can replace them with, I mean, not the replacement, but upgrade them with PE parts, because for example rudder pedals will be replicated with metal. The same can be said about dashboard. This one won't be used in the Profipack, so it might come handy in some future builds. And also here you can see more of the cockpit elements. Rear armor wall, also the control stick, everything is here. Tires are molded as one-piece parts with separate wheel rims, what should make an overall painting process easier, because you won't have to use masks. You just paint the rims separately, install them in place, and you have a careful and nice paint finish on your aircraft. Next we have assembly manual. This one is finished in form of this typical Eduard brochure. We have short history note in English and Czech. Next we have parts map. Note that many parts won't be used in this kit, so they will go straight away to your spare parts. Assembly process starts with cockpit, of course. Then we continue with fuselage halves. Note that there are some modifications you will have to do in order to replicate the marking C. Here you have different rudder types for different markings, so be careful for these notes in order to replicate the precise version of your aircraft. Next we have quite an interesting feature here, because we have special masks for position lights, so you can paint them separately. Next we join the wing mechanization, landing gear. Here you can see option for the open canopy. And last but not the least is a masks application guide, and note that there are still masks for the wheels if you would like to paint them when they are assembled together. Then here we have first marking guide for the first marking option. Here is the second and third, and here is the fourth and the fifth. Paint numbers are given in Gunze designations, but of course ROM numbers can be replicated in different manufacturers' paint lines. And here you can see on the last page we have the stenciling guide for this aircraft. That's 1/48 scale, so stenciling is a must in such size. Next we have separate plastic bag. This is a mask sheet which is quite typical for Profipacks. These are yellow stickers, and as I said before, they will be used in several areas. Next plastic bag is dedicated to P fret. Just give me a second. Here it is. That's a typical Eduard pre-painted P fret, which will come handy for internal and external detailing. As you can see, biggest share of parts will go inside. They will replace seat belts, dashboard, also side panels. Everything will be copied with help of metal parts. But there are also some external elements as well, so no worries. External detailing will be also quite nice. Now I'm opening the next plastic bag. This one carries 2 decal sheets, and I will show them in a second. Okay, So the first one is printed in Eduard and the second one as well. Here we have all main symbols for 5 marking options. Also we have decals for the dashboard in case you won't use the PE parts or you just don't want to, let's say, work with them. Overall printing quality is really nice, and we have even the propeller spirals here, so you won't have to paint them, even though they might be tricky in application. That's a small note. And here you can see the second decal sheet, which is dedicated to stencils and also printed in Eduard. As you can see, we have stencils in 2 different colors, black and red. So that's all for this video review. We have another nice Profipack from Czech manufacturer Eduard. Of course, it is already available for the purchase and you can order it directly from manufacturer's website. I will be happy to hear your opinion about this kit. Write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Bye!